Hello everyone, I am a federated chess player of standard federating of around 1550. I am playing competitive chess since the year 2020 and that's why I exactly know how a beginner or an intermediate level player can improve themselves from such situations which are difficult, complicated. How can they improve their calculation over the board?
Hello everyone, and today we're going to discuss about mastering uh, defensive techniques in chess and how it can help you increase your elo rapidly from below 1000 elo to above 1000 elo in short period of time. First things, what and why is defensive technique very important for you to know? Basically, in chess, many times it will happen that there is a situation, a bad situation, where you must defend your position. The position is really bad today. Uh, Basically, it is horrible, and you must defend from your opponents any threats and attacks which is posed by your opponent upon you. And in order to do that, you require two things. You must require two things. First thing, good calculation skills. Good calculation skills is an obvious and necessary thing to know because when you're calculating lines of both yours and your opponents, then only you can get to know what your opponent is up to. And once you know by calculating sharp lines, that your opponent is attacking in one manner or in other manner, then you can stop those ideas in their tracks by defending accurate, by blocking or by attacking your opponent like a counter attack, danger levels. So in such situation, calculation is a must. And in order to master calculations, uh, you must of course solve uh, tactics and puzzles regularly on chess or chess.com, whichever you prefer. And a regular tactics solving can definitely boost that skill to a very high level. And in process, you can uh, use that skill here in defensive techniques. Second thing we must know or make an habit of is calculating checks, captures, and threats of both yours and your opponents in order to know what your opponent is up, what your opponent's threats are, or what your opponent's deadly checks can be, or any kind of deadly captures your opponent can plan against you. And once you know that, you can easily defend that position by blocking that idea in its tracks before your opponent can execute it. So let's not see more theory. Let's see some practical examples and discuss about how your opponent can uh, be stopped. How can you stop such kind of threats in their tracks in a practical scenario? So first example we're going to take is a very easy one, and which is this one. So can you see what is going on here? I will give you some time in order to calculate what is going on and what can be the best move for white in order to defend the position. So you can pause the video if you want before I say that. So uh, let's discuss. So we can see by observation that the queen and the bishop both are making a battle against our king on g1. And they're aiming at the h2 pawn. And only piece which is defending on h2 pawn is this knight, which means if this knight is removed, then we are getting checkmate. So, and we can see that a bishop is attacking that knight. So, basically, opponent's major plan here is that bishop captures knight on f3, and doesn't matter whatever we capture the bishop with, either the g pawn or the queen. Then next move is queen takes h2, checkmate. And after calculating this, we know what we should do in order to stop this checkmate threat posed by your opponent, by black here. And in order to do that, can you guess the answer or can you calculate the answer? It's pretty easy. Yes, it is pawn to g. Simple but very solid position. Your opponent's idea is stopped in tracks. Yeah, there is some concern about this knight becoming weak because of the pawn push, but that's not a big deal because our bishop can come back anytime to e2 and the knight will be unpinned and will be protected sufficiently and can move anytime it wants again. So we can see how easy it is to defend once we know what is your opponent is up by seeing the position, by seeing what your opponent is doing with their pieces. So let's go for another example, little bit tougher from now. So yes, so this is also a very good example. Basically, here what happened was knight was here on e2 and it played knight to c1. White played knight to c1. And now we must know what your opponent is up. So why was knight played to c1? What is the idea? We can see that knight has been played to c1 in order to come to d3. And on d3, there are two weaknesses which we have to defend. One is the pawn weakness, which is hanging here. Of course, it's no protector of the pawn. Second thing is this weak square. And why this square is important? Because if in the process of defending this pawn, if the knight lands on this square, then can you see what can happen? If let's imagine a knight here, what will happen? What can knight attack? Can you see this fork? Exactly. That's the main idea. This fork is incoming if we are not careful. So we should not forget, we should not become blind to just one threat here. We have to see what threats our opponent pieces can pose to us when they move or when they make an obvious or non-obvious move, which you can see now, knight to c1 going backward knight's move, trying to come forward and turn, attack us. And here, in order to avoid any kind of double attack of fork and also protect our pawn, first things we must save the pawn first. And in order to do that, you can just play the knight here. It's easy. And the moment your opponent like comes here with the knight, which is the idea, attacking both the pawn and this square. Now, what you should do, just move away the rook here, and now it is completely fine, and there is no fork. So, this is so easy to do if you know what your opponent is up to, what your opponent can threaten you, and do not be blinded by one kind of threat. It is possible that your opponent is attacking on two edges of the board where both edges have some kind of threat against you. So see the whole board. Don't become uh, don't become impatient. Don't see casually. Be cautious in such situations. So now, is it easy to understand now how we just saw what your opponent did and how we avoided something like that? Here, it was necessary to defend the pawn because very simple. If the pawn falls over here, then the whole central stance of black will collapse. You can see how the bishop is seeing this area. But because this is strong enough, it is defended well now. For now, there is no issues. for black whatsoever, and this bishop will continue to be passive until the, until black decides to make any blunder. So let's go to our final puzzle, and our final position is this position, and this position is slightly tricky. Here, black played the move knight to forward. Uh, Black must play knight forward. I think there is some issues. Uh, let's say white played here. Let's take that. And now black plays knight forward. And can you see the threat that your opponent is posing against you? It's a bit tricky. I'll give you some time, pause the video, and we'll discuss a little bit. in, okay. So yeah, let's discuss. So whoever could not figure it out, what is the exact threat your opponent is threatening against you? It is checkmate in few moves. And don't get shocked, it is true. If you are not careful, you will get mated pretty soon and pretty embarrassing in a very embarrassing way. And how the checkmate works, it is a smothered mate in 5 moves, which is knight to f2. Let's say we are not careful, we just played this move again. And knight to f2 will come with a check. Then king is forced to g1. Knight to h3, double check. Now king has to move. King cannot go to f1, otherwise queen to f2 is checkmate. You can see that. So king has to go to h1. And now comes the sacrifice queen to g1 check. And now we are forced to take the queen with the rook. And after rook takes queen, knight f2 checkmate. So now you know this. Now you have calculated it on the board. Now you know you must prevent it. And in order to prevent that, we must see that the king is stuck in the back rank. And because of that, this tactic is working. So we have to make sure the king is not stuck in f1 g1 or h1 squares forever and get assaulted by the knight with multiple checks. And in order to do that, we must create some breathing space for your king with the move, simple move, which is h3. And now after h3, we just, after this check, we don't go here. Instead, we just go here. And now there is no threat at all. And our life is simple. And we have some fighting chances. And if possible, if we play well, we can also win the game. So you can see by just simple calculation of what your opponent is up to, you can easily break their rhythm of, or you can say the pattern of the tactic. And in breaking that pattern, you stop their plans, the deadly plans against you. So I hope it has helped you understand how you must know when and where to make sure that you do not get trapped by your opponent easily, and how to calculate. And for that, of course, you should know good calculation, you should have that skill, and always take care of checks, captures, and threats for both your opponent and yourself, so that your opponent's threats can be stopped and you can pose multiple important threats to your opponent, which can be annoying for your opponent. So that is it for today, guys, and bye bye.